Fantastic. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Just Two Dads. I am co-host Brian Altunian. My partner and co-host Sean Francis will be signing on here any minute. We have a great guest for you today. We're very excited to talk about an issue that we have been talking about recently, and that is young adult and transition from services that have been provided to, into adulthood and all those factors that are important. So today on Just Two Dads, our special guest is David Field. So excited to get started here in just a second. So Just Two Dads. Awesome. David, first of all, I'm gonna say hello. I'm gonna say hello to you. I just want a quick hello to everybody who is watching us live, whether you're watching us live on Facebook or you're catching us on our YouTube channel or on our podcast. We're on Apple Podcasts and Google Podcasts and Pandora, iHeartRadio. My gosh, so many podcast outlets these days, and also listening to us on WSTX AM radio in the U.S. Virgin Islands. Welcome to everybody to another episode of Just Two Dads. I am Brian Altunian, your co-host. I was not here last week. I was on my way to celebrate the graduation of my middle child. My daughter, Gabby, graduated from University of Vermont with honors, I'm proud to say, and a major in anthropology and a minor. I think she had 3 minors to go along with her major in anthropology. So I'm a proud dad. I missed last week's episode, but was so intrigued by the work that Sean Francis had done in being very vulnerable and talking about those decisions that we make as we look at the help support of our children who are at home. At what point do we make those decisions to move into, a more assisted living situation? So compelling conversation. And I'm sorry that I missed it. I know it was a very powerful conversation. And then because Sean and I have the ability to do this, Sean will be joining us momentarily, but I get to kick off today's show, and I'm very excited for you all to hear from our guest today. Our guest is David Fields, the executive director of the Campbell Center, which is based in Glendale, California, and again, talking around the subject of transition and transitioning our young adults into their futures, whether that's in living, in vocational work, in occupational work. There's so much stuff, and I'm so excited to welcome him here today. David, how are you today?
I'm doing well, Brian. Thank you so much. It sounds like your daughter is a chip off the old block, huh?
Oh, I think she surpassed me a long time ago. She really is
we both have that Bruin thing going on, right?
We do. I don't. Oh, do I have my I don't have my UCLA Bruins in the background. Yes. So David and I are both Bruin alumni and big supporters of that university. And so, yes, we're high achievers, I think, in our family anyways, and sounds like in yours as well.
I'm not good at these things, but we'll have to tag U.C.L.A. on this, right?
Yeah, that's right. Little hashtag U.C.L.A. Bruins forever. So welcome to our Just Two Dads podcast. And we had a chance to briefly talk with you a few weeks back as we were setting today up. So want to talk about what it is that the Campbell Center does. We want people to know what the center is up to and how you got started in this. So why don't we just start the conversation off? And I know when Sean jumps on, he's gonna. Well, I'll add him to the conversation too. He'll have some other questions as well. But David, tell us what the Campbell Center does. A little bit about how it got started, and what your focus is there.
Well, the Campbell Center was founded in 1954 by Jerry and Phyllis Campbell. And their daughter, Janice, had Down syndrome at the time. And back then, there was not a lot of services, okay? And unfortunately, it was still, I would say maybe somewhat of a negative type of, I don't want to let people know about my family. I don't, and so there was this whole thing that had to be dealt with. And they came out of the shadows, so to speak, Jerry and Phyllis, and started the Campbell Center primarily for their daughter. And in the beginning, it was for children with IDD, and that is individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities, and it includes Down syndrome, and it includes autism and cerebral palsy and epilepsy, and just a whole string of events that cause a disability for the person that has it. But again, their intentions was to help that population. And Brian, as you and Sean know, what drives this whole business that we're in here are the families. It's the fathers, it's the dads, it's the two dads, okay?
Yeah, yeah.
And I'll be honest with you, oftentimes it's the mother. So it's nice to see you and Sean stepping up here to make this whole thing happen. But it's the family members that pull together that make this whole thing happen. And that's what they did back in 1954 when it wasn't necessarily, the most desirable thing to be doing. And from there, it evolved from supporting children, because I think at that time, the school system did not have a process in place to help those individuals. So, so 1954, in the beginning, it was for children. It morphed into an organization that supported adults. And up until 5 years ago, we were known as the Glendale Association for the Retarded. Okay, and of course, again, not the best terminology to be using, although it did pretty clearly stated what we did. But that's not the type of terminology that you wanted to use. So here we are today, 67 years later, okay, still doing the work and changing lives and helping families. And it's a great opportunity for me as an individual.
It's amazing. I grew up in Glendale. This is Glendale, California. For those who don't know, it's a suburb of Los Angeles, probably about 15 or 20 minutes northwest, maybe northeast, I think, of downtown Los Angeles. I grew up in Glendale, and I had never heard of the center. Right, which I think speaks to maybe what you're talking about, right? It really was made up of the community of participants, as opposed to a much larger organization. Is that right?
Well, and I think part of it could have been that whole thing where we don't really want to be out there, and don't want to be exposing people, but we are now we know now that we have to get the word out about what we do, because we do great work here, not just in Glendale, but we want the surrounding communities to know what we do. You and I talked about how you're in the Virgin Islands. Well, we'd love to open up an office one day in the Virgin Islands. We'd love to go nationally and internationally as we grow the organization. And part of my task as executive director is to do just that, to grow the organization. So we do have a, I would call it a branding issue. But you met Jack Manning earlier. He was helping me with the hookup and everything. He's our communication specialist. Our task is to get the word out there about what we do so that people are willing to recognize what we do, but also be part of the organization in some way. And we can talk about that later on.
I love that. And so what are some of the specific tasks? What would you say is, if you could rank them, an order of activities? What does the Campbell Center do? What's their areas of focus?
Well, the one of them is what we call pastimes, which is for adults that may not have the capabilities of having jobs, but we try to provide them what we call community integration, and that could include being here at the facility, doing artwork. It could be we've done things where we volunteer at Habitat for Humanity. We go, those of you that are familiar with the area, we go to Descanso Gardens. We're thinking about maybe opening up a community garden, anything to allow our population to be involved. Basically, it's a person-centered approach, but also something we give them the opportunity to be. And I hate to say this word, and I'm not going to say this, because we've actually had some of our associates say this, to be normal. We want to give them the opportunity to be normal and not feel like they have to hide in the shadows, but come out and be part of the broader community. So that's a big piece of what we do, which is pastimes. That's been hampered because of the virus. So we've been doing that remotely. We've kind of developed a state-of-the-art program here of keeping our associates engaged. So, and we're working with Glendale Unified School District right now because we're basically supporting adults. Well, the school district supports students with IDD from 3 to 22, and oftentimes after 22, what do we do now? So we're actually trying to do a pilot program this summer to get some pilot students in here to try to get them engaged and then to grow that as an opportunity. So, and I can go on forever with the things that we do, but do you have any questions, Brian?
Yeah, no, I love and I love it.
One thing.
yeah, and that's great. So you do vote. I mean, in a way, it's sort of occupational guidance and training. Is that right? And mentorship.
Well, we'll get into that. I mean, the other
Okay.
thing that we do, we have a supportive employment program, which would be what you're talking about
Yes,
is
yes, yes.
occupational. So those that are capable of getting a job, we have a program called supportive employment where we get jobs. So we had before pre-pandemic, we had Brittany that worked at Del Taco. We had a group a work group that worked in Burbank. We had some of our associates that actually worked here with us, such as Shant, who used to manage the front desk. So that is a let's get you a job. Let's get you a minimum wage job at the least, doing something that you like to do. Shant was our main person on the front desk. Where he likes TV and movies. We'd like to give him a job at Disney or something like that. That would be ideal for him. So it's jobs. I want every business in Glendale to hire one of our associates. Okay, that's what I want.
I
I
love
would
that.
like. Now, if I could get 10% or 20%, it would knock us out the park. We also have a fulfillment center here where we do mailings and we do packaging, shipping. Look, that's a really hot business right now. That's
For
very, I mean,
sure.
Amazon, but I would love for Amazon to give us just a piece of their business. Somebody's listening from Amazon. We'll take a piece of that business.
Who
Okay.
wouldn't love a
Bring
piece of
that here.
Amazon's business?
We just hired a new job developer, and his job is to be out there to get jobs, to open up your heart to our associates and hire them. We have a group that works out here in fulfillment, and I always say, all you the heads down, elbows up. All they're doing is work. I mean, they are working. There's no HR issues there. You know how it is in businesses, right? There's no
For
HR
sure.
issues. They're just happy to come in, to get out of the house and have something meaningful and put some money in their pocket. Okay.
Beautiful.
We also have 3
Beautiful.
residences where we house 22 people, IDD individuals in the foothills there of Glendale. Of course, there was a little bit of NIMBYism when we first opened up,
Sure.
but now we're just like anyone else in the neighborhood. We walk the dogs, we keep our property up. Nobody knows that we're there. I mean, but we're providing residential support for people in some cases might not have that level of support. And I mean, tell you, with 20 people, 22 people, we're only scratching the surface because there
Of
is a multitude of people out there that get lost. They get lost in the shadows of just being homeless, just being another homeless person with this type of condition, and no one's there to take care of them. So basically, it's supportive employment with the fulfillment thing, the Amazon piece. Okay, there's that community integration, and then there are the residences. We're looking to expand the residential program. We have 3 houses. We're looking for a 4th. We have some preliminary plans to ultimately build a mixed use facility somewhere down the road with residential. Maybe down below, we've got job training, we've got art, we've got different things that we can provide to our associates to give them the skill set that they need to be successful. We're in the process right next to my office here, putting in a computer lab that was funded by a foundation. So that's
Beautiful.
the nickel and dimes of what we do.
Yeah, it's so funny because listen, you're in it, and so you're like, oh, we do this and that. I get it. You're knee deep in the work, and you're like, oh, that's not that. It's incredibly impressive. Just so you know, for families who are dealing with their children as they progress through the educational system, and they're always if they're looking forward, they're looking, what's going to happen this year. The pandemic put a lot of focus on the immediate, like what happened. How does our child now get through the education system in this crisis? Now it's okay, coming out of the crisis. Now what's the education system going to look like? Then how's my child going to get through high school? And then to your point, get to age 22. The work that you're doing is like it's established, right? That the system exists to support our children through the age 22. There is no system in place that helps after age 22. So what your center is doing is so significant for these families to have a place to go, a resource to access, an environment that's encouraging that growth. It's so critical, the work that you're doing at the Campbell Center. So I appreciate you are taking this on, and you're like, well, we do a lot of different things, but it really is such a significant.
But we work in a very controlled environment, and I used to work for another organization, and we dealt with homelessness and putting food on the table, and it was just okay. Get somebody into an apartment, get them a plate of food. this is very, very, very controlled. The money that we get comes from the federal government, and it passes through the state Department of Developmental Services through an entity called a regional center. And California
Right.
is broken into these various regional centers, and then the money flows over to us. And when you get money from the government, everything's going to be very, very controlled.
For
Okay,
sure.
you just can't go off and do whatever you want to do. You need to make sure that you're following certain rules and regulations. But I think one of those rules and regulations, and I'm not an expert on this, but I believe that the school systems are set up from 3 to 22. And I was principal for the day once at one of the local elementary schools that dealt with IDD students. And I actually saw the child that was going to be starting the next day, the 3-year-older. And I could see the anguish in the parents and what is going to happen to my child when she comes into this program tomorrow. I sat in on another meeting with the 21-year-older, and the mother was in anguish. What's going to happen to my child when she turns 22? And I don't liken it to, because, if you've got a family, you're good. But I liken it so much to foster care. Foster care supports kids until they're 18. And then after that, if you don't have some type of blanket there to catch them, they just fall into God knows where they may end up. And I'm not saying that's what's going to happen to our population, but we want to do the best that we can to make sure at 22 that we have something for them to do. And that's the new program. We call that New Ventures, going into a new domain. And we believe that there's a very big population for that. I mean, you understand that. I mean, you understand as a parent, because you have a child that is IDD. And as we discussed before, I mean, the biggest issue with any parent is what's going to happen to my child when I'm no longer there. Okay.
Right.
That's the big issue. And I've actually I had the conversation with a parent. I said, so what's going to happen when you're no longer here? And the parent said, I hope John passes away before I pass away.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, nobody ever wants your child to precede you, but that's the intensity of this. What's going to happen when I'm no longer here? And that's something that's not always resolvable. Hopefully there's a brother or a sister or aunt or an uncle, or there's the financial means to support that person. But it's a very difficult task, and the parents are so dedicated, and the family. Sometimes not always a parent. It could be we've got two sisters, and the one sister lives in the front house with her husband, and they build a little cottage in the back for the other sister, and she comes and has dinner with them every night. Okay, but she's got her own space in the back. One other of our associates is actually living in a very nice apartment building where his mother lives. So they're not living together, but the mother's there to keep an eye on them. So, but not everyone is that fortunate. Not everybody has that situation. Oftentimes it's a struggle. And you understand that.
Yes, for sure. First of all, David, I feel your passion and your commitment to this, which I admire you so much for taking this on as an executive director here. The comment that you made, Sean and I focus on this in our business. We do financial services and we support families, and the conversation of things like special needs trusts and the financial things that come with that. The idea that who takes care of your child when you're no longer there. By the way, that works for every family, but it's even more significant in families, of children with special needs. Those are major concerns. We set out to do this podcast almost a year ago. We've been doing financial services presentations for special needs families for 4 or 5 years. And we did this podcast specifically because we encountered amazing warriors in our community, such as yourself, people who are committed to serving this community on a much grander scale. And we set out to I like to say, to expand our web and introduce folks to one another and let people know what's happening in this space. So I'm so grateful personally for the work that you're doing. We took advantage of the regional center here in Southern California for support for our daughter as she was going through learning disabilities and challenges in the school system. And we had her in multiple school formations, if you will, to give her the greatest chance for success. And in essence, oh my God! And as I said that, of course, she signs on to say hello here on Facebook. So that's my daughter, Jo. She goes by Jo.
How you doing, Jo?
I just got a chance to spend a little time with her for her sister's graduation back east, and it was so it was always too short. When you just get to see your children on a sporadic basis, always too short. And Jordan's a phenomenal story because I'm fortunate as a parent, because Jordan is now married and has an amazing family back east that she gets to interact with, and her mother lives back there as well. So to your point, close enough to be involved
Right.
on a fairly regular basis, but living independently, and she has a job. And we were told, I don't know if we shared this with you, but in the very beginning, all the things that she wasn't going to be able to do when this is at, diagnosis at 2 years old. And she has surpassed all of those. I guess, again, my family's a bunch of high achievers, right? Jordan's like, oh, I can't do that. Let me show you how I can do that. And so she's an amazing warrior as well. And I'm just so proud of the work that she's done on herself and for her family. And now is at the moment, a teacher's aide in the school system in Amsterdam, New York, and in a class with children who have learning disabilities and IDD issues, as you say.
That's a great story, and we have to look beyond. And I didn't even like to use the word. Okay, I mean, we have to look beyond whatever we want to call this, a disability. We have to look at the person, and sometimes you look very, very deep into a person. We have one of our board members is IDD. And he lives in one of our residences, and he's an expert on U.S. history. Okay, if you want to ask him anything about U.S. history, he can tell you about U.S. history. We have another and I miss him so much because they're here in the facility, and we're a family. Everyone wants to come back to the family. We do a great job with remote services, but that's not really what we want. We want to come back and see the family. We want to have the Halloween party. We want to have the Christmas party. I want to be able to, I used to get upset because they play these little card games, but that meant a lot, was playing the card games, okay, and that interaction. But this one individual can give me in the morning trivia, TV trivia, movie trivia. It stumps me every time, okay? So you got to look beyond that, what you see.
Yes, for sure.
And just like we need to do that with everyone, give that person the benefit of the doubt and give them the opportunity to expand. And that's what we're trying to do here, is we want them to be able to achieve as much as they can achieve, just like anyone else. We want them to have the opportunity. And it was such a great story about your daughter. I mean, you talk about person-centered. Well, that's a person-centered approach. She is doing something, working with special needs and making a huge impact. And our people are the best people in the world. Okay. And if we could all be like that, this would be a much better place to live in. Okay.
Isn't that the truth?
If we could be like that population, sometimes it's like, who's really got the problem here? Okay.
Right. Listen, I'm with you 100%. And every time every time I talk to you too, David, I'm like, okay, first of all, we're Bruins, so we've got that family component to it. But every time I talk to you, you're the kind of person I think like we're. Yes, I would love for us to spend more time together. Even outside of this, just because that compassion, the empathy. If this world were filled with more empathetic perspectives, love and support, what a different place this would be. And this is, again, I love some of the comments that we get. Robert Moorhead is one of our closest friends of this particular show. Robert has his own radio show down in WSTX AM radio down in the U.S. Virgin Islands. He actually is responsible for us having our own show on that radio program.
It's a network, right? It's all about the network.
Absolutely. I'm going to share that with you, and I'm going to add Sean, who's now joining us. I'm going to add him. Oh, he did it. Added him to the stream here. So Sean is here. Robert, I'm going to just acknowledge Robert while Sean's getting his microphone all set up. About looking within, I'm going to actually add Robert's comment here to the screen so everybody can see, right? Everyone has something to offer if we want to see past our own prejudices, and I agree with that entirely. And I think that we in this community see that more, and I've always seen that, and to some degree it's created, as you said earlier, David, a little bit of shame, and people want to hide. And our perspective is, no, let's get people out in the forefront and let people see capabilities. And one last comment here on that before, Sean, I throw this to you, but we had a guest on the show, which we're definitely going to connect you with, David, Constantine Anthony, who was diagnosed as an adult on the autism spectrum, and his son, who is also on the autism spectrum, but Constantine is now a city councilman in the city of Burbank. And so he definitely needs to know about the Campbell
I
Center.
definitely want to meet him.
We definitely want to do that. Yes, for sure. And in addition to that, again, expanding our web, wanted to make this comment before it leaves my head because I tend to forget these things. But Shant wanting to have an internship or some exposure to the entertainment industry. We had another guest on our show, Brett Lieberman, who we talk about, and he has a program. He's in Santa Clarita, but also looking to expand beyond Southern California region. His program is called Yes, I Can, Unity through education and entertainment. And so he has a program that educates young adults on access to the music and the entertainment industries and gets them into mentorships and internships within the entertainment industry. So we're going to connect you as well to and again, expand this network here so that you have some places for your associates to be able to go and have access to those folks that can give them opportunities. So we're going to make those connections.
It's all about the network. And so what brought us together, I think Sean knew Jackie Matsumoto of the Valley Economic Alliance, which I just became a member of. And she says, you got to meet these two guys. Okay. You got to meet these two guys. You got, so that was that networking thing that brings us here today. And I want to thank Jackie for that. But over and beyond that, it's all about expanding our network. We talked about, Sean, that, a lot of people don't know that the Campbell Center exists. Part of our mission is to get on the map. We may have been used to being on the map a little bit more, but to get back on that map so that people understand who we are. And this is a great opportunity. The fact that I'm in the Virgin Islands right now makes me feel pretty good. So
yes, for sure. And Robert would say that this is the kind of program that they would love to have in the Virgin Islands. So
yes,
and we'll talk more about that, but we'll take a half a second here and just welcome Sean. How are you, my friend? How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. I was thinking, for people that listen to us on a regular basis, it sounds like, somebody must be paid to say this and you say it over and over. I'm just so thankful for this platform, for my friendship with you, to be able to sit here and have conversations with people like David. As you guys were talking about how important it is, it's all about relationship. It's all about connections. I'm late getting on here simply because my son had his return for his books. I'm not usually one to get into here's why this happened, but it connects. So it just so happened that on the way back from dropping off his books, wrapping up his school year, there was a 5-car pileup. So there's just traffic. So thankful that I wasn't a part of that, and nobody seemed like they were hurt. But as we were in the classroom, and everything he's done has been virtual. So he hasn't been in the classroom, and it's his first year of high school. I don't know what that means in the year 2021 for a neurotypical kid. I really don't know what it means in the year 2021 for a kid on the autism spectrum in terms of being in those shoes. But he loved being in the classroom and everything. And I remember I was telling his teacher, she was asking how everything is going. I said, yeah, got to get back in front of the mic. Our show is going to start. And our guest today is a guy by the name of David Fields. That's the director of an organization called the Campbell Center. Yep. And she's like, she tilts her head, and I'm telling her about it. And she had never heard about it. And again, like you said, David, it is about the connections. It's about everything. I was telling someone just yesterday, actually it was a doctor who gave me fantastic service. And I was telling him about a quote that I repeat very often, which I try to live. And I think I've repeated it on this show before, which is accredited to the great Muhammad Ali, which is that service to others is the rent we pay for our room on earth. And service to others comes in various forms. If I have a good experience any place, I want other people to have that experience as well. Why keep that to myself? And so that's what it's all about. And that's why I'm glad to be here and glad to have this time with you.
And I thank you both for the opportunity. And you would never be faulted for taking care of your child first. Okay. So
Thank you.
You do what you got to do to take care of your child. But I have my little isms here. And one of my isms is, besides the fact that our people are the greatest people in the world, is that, and when you talk about that network, okay, yeah. If I speak before 100 people, and if I ask how many of you know someone that is got IDD? 80 people are gonna raise their hands. Okay. Yeah, you're gonna be somebody, it's either the brother, the sister, the cousin, it's gonna be the neighbor, it's gonna be the person they grew up with at our board meetings. And we have a great board that helps to lead us and lay the path for us to follow. At each board meeting, they do a moment of inspiration. And they talk about the reason why they're involved with the Campbell Center. And these heart-wrenching stories come out about why they're involved with us. But the fact of the matter is that it is most people we don't always know somebody that's homeless, and we might not know somebody that's going hungry, but most of us know somebody that's got IDD. And it's far more prevalent than what we think. And because as we were discussing earlier, Sean, sometimes it's been hidden. Okay, we got to come out of the shadows and let people know that first of all, there's a problem. And then, oh, by the way, what can you do to help? What can you do to help us?
Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's funny. I just realized as you were saying that, this might sound strange given my experience in this community. My son is 15 years old, diagnosed at the age of 3. But I've never consciously linked IDD or special needs with mental health. And the reason for that is because when you think mental health, I still am, I don't like to say that I'm a victim, but a byproduct of the picture that society has painted for a long time. And a lot of the pictures that are painted by society don't serve us. Society paints a picture that says wealthy people should know how to make the most out of their money. Society paints a picture that says people that look a certain way should succeed, whether it's what your definition of beauty is based on the width of your nose, skin color, weight, height, whatever the case might be. But society also has painted a picture that says mental illness equates to the clinically insane, the depraved, those who are so mentally unstable that maybe they can't, function. But mental health is, everyone has their mental health challenged in some way, shape, or form. And
absolutely,
it's okay for your health to be challenged by the rigors of life, running a business, raising a family, or whatever. Just, make sure, you're having problems maybe eating some of the wrong things because it's quick and easy, a challenge eating healthy food versus junk, working out or whatever. So it's okay to have your physical health challenge, but the challenge of mental health is something that is reserved for people that, have serious challenges. But everybody's health mentally is challenged in some way, shape, or form. And at the end of the day, that's just another thing that gets in the way of reminding us that we are more alike than we are otherwise. And anything that belies or smashes that is something that we have to unite and take care of and jump on right away with everything we got.
Very well put in. And I'm gonna answer this question, and then I'm gonna pose it. And the answer is yes. Okay. If I were to ask you if you could change your child in some way, okay, and say, okay, if I could get this child to be quote unquote
normal,
more in the main spectrum, the answer would be, the answer to that is not yes. The answer is no. Okay. I would keep it the way it is, because how much do your children bring to your life, and how have they made you better people, and how have they made you more compassionate and more sympathetic and being able to understand the trials and tribulations of everybody? Because like you say, we all have mental health issues. I'll attest to that. Okay. We all have issues that we have to try to conquer, and they're no different from us. And that's part of why we're here, is to get them on the same footing that we're on. Do not discriminate. Do not be afraid of. That's one of the things that we found out when I believe sometimes we have problems hiring people because there's this, oh, I don't know if I really want to deal with that. I don't know if I really want to deal with that. I'm afraid. I don't know how to interact. I don't know how to have a conversation. I'm afraid something's going to happen. And we have to overcome that. That is a form of prejudiceness that we need to overcome. Give everybody the opportunity to be who they are. It's all about, my watchwords are dignity and respect. It's all about treating people with dignity and respect, wherever you are.
Absolutely. 100%.
Definitely. My wife and I have had that conversation. And I think I ended up asking her, I just said, and she agreed. We're like, if Elijah could be cured of his autism and he was neurotypical tomorrow, would we want that? And rather than a definitive yes or no, we were like, well, it kind of depends. Like, what would we lose? What benefits would you get to keep? You know what I mean? Because I'll be honest, I don't have a problem saying yes, but the yes depends on, I don't know what I would lose, because there's some things that he has that I don't want messed with at all that come with autism.
Right.
Yeah.
And Joe, I mean, your story, I mean, Brian, about Joe,
Yeah.
that story is so, that's what it's all about. And what you have done is being able to put her on a path to achieve at a very high level, which would not, I mean, we have a young lady here that works with us, and her name is Rochelle, and she was our art instructor. Okay, well, guess what? Rochelle has a degree from Cal State University Northridge. Okay, we had an event last 4th of July. It was a sip and sketch, and we did a thing of Snoopy, 4th of July
sure.
Snoopy. And while you're doing that, you're sipping on your wine. Okay, we didn't send the wine because I think that's against ABC laws, but but we were, but she conducted this. I mean, here she is, conducting this for like 50 people over Zoom. Come to find out, she's got, right now, she had to kind of let us go in terms of our art instructor because she's got 2 other jobs. Okay, she's got 2, and she's working for an organization that does murals, and it's murals being done by those people with IDD. Okay, and so we may look at that as an option of bringing them in to help us. Also, here's the thing: when you drive by our facility here on San Fernando Road in Glendale, right before you get to Burbank, right across from Super King. Hey, she can give a plug, but that's if you need a point of reference, that's where we are. Well, if you drive by, it's got fulfillment, it's got packaging, it's got shipping. Well, wrong message. That's not who we are. We're in the process of changing that so that when people drive by here, they have a sense of who we are and what we do. At least plant something in their brains that says, I wonder what's going on over there. Let me find what's going on over there with that Campbell Center. Okay, and let me try to pursue this a little bit more. We've done things such as, and we've updated our website over the last year. We're becoming far more skilled with social media and doing the things that you need to do with Facebook and Instagram and those types of things. And I have been hampered by the pandemic because I was really out there knocking on doors, having lunches, getting to know people, trying to get them involved. So now there's a really strong indication that I've got 2 lunches next week. Okay, we're beyond that now. So the world is opening back up to us. And that allows us to get the word out on what we're doing and to get, we need people to help us. We need people to donate to us. We need people to come volunteer. We got a brand new computer lab over here. We need people to give us jobs. Okay. Yeah, I'm preaching to y'all.
Good.
If you need, you need to hire somebody, go to our website and contact us. Okay. If you've got Tai Chi classes that you're doing, and the best thing for us is integration. Where our population comes in is there with the general population. If you got something where you think we could come in, art program, we lost our art instructor, okay, what can you do to get us engaged in what you're doing? I mean, there is a sense of social responsibility here that we all should have some type of interest in doing to help others, and again, what happens when you give, what happens? Comes back to you, right?
Comes back to you tenfold.
That's right.
Tenfold.
Absolutely.
If you can just get past this sense of who you are and thinking about other people, your life will be far more enriched.
Absolutely. Well, we put the website up, and just for those who are listening and are not seeing this, the website is www.thecampbell.org. And it's with 2 L's, correct, David? We've spelled that, right?
It is. I hate to say it. It's like the soup.
It's like the soup. The Campbell, TheCampbell.org.
Maybe I should call it Campbell soup.
Yes, actually, it's not a bad idea. We should definitely do that. So I love that you're doing that, and I love that you're plugging what you need, because I think so many organizations who definitely rely on regional centers, state and federal, support, tend to be they do things, they do fundraisers, they tend to be a little bit less reluctant, and yet there's still so much need. So I love the fact that you're plugging activities and the work that you're doing, and people can find on the website what's happening, other fundraising activities. You've got something coming up in June talk about that for a quick second. But I want us to make sure that we leave a little bit of time because I want to talk about you specifically. But tell us about this what you've got coming up in June. So
And it should never be about me.
I know, but
okay.
But
you're the driving force.
The reason why Brian is asking that, and we usually would kind of start that way too, is because I know you don't see yourself as a hero, right? But any of us who tend to do what we are even, attempting to do, the work is heroic, and every hero, as well as their work, has an origin. So that's why he's going to ask you that. Okay.
Oh no, I appreciate that. But I mean, so we talked about the Sip and Sketch, which was a fundraiser, and we did pretty well. We did a spooktacular event, which was, Halloween, and that was very well received. And we did a Valentine's event because we can't go live. I mean, we're looking at next March having a live event. Okay, but
right.
we can't. We're not there yet. So this is a TV trivia, and we have Jerry Mathers, who was the Beaver, is going to come, and he's going to say a few words, and we have a Lucy lookalike, okay, that is going to come and kind of be our hostess for the evening and do some skits.
Nice.
From Lucy. Who doesn't like Lucy?
Right.
Who doesn't like the Beaver, right? I mean, what more could you ask for? So it's just going to be a fun evening. We're going to have some raffle items. We tried to find a vintage TV that we could raffle out. A vintage TV that's contemporary that you can actually get Netflix on. Apparently that doesn't exist, but somebody knows. Let me know. Okay, but we're going to have a goodie basket, so when you sit up watching TV, you got popcorn and those types of things in there. But it again, it is an easy way. And yeah, there's a cost associated with the $75, but it's an easy way for you to make a contribution because Brian, your what you were saying is correct. Yeah, we get money from the government, but it is not enough. Okay, it is not enough to do as the money's kind of steady, expenses go up, and oh, by the way, just to break even, we need to have that support. But to do even more than what we're trying to do, it's all about money. Okay, I hate to say that. It's all about money, and the more we can get, the more we can do. So if you're interested, please be interested, and I'd love for somebody to clock in from the Virgin Islands. It's a Zoom. Go to our website there, and it'll take you over to the event section, and you'll get more information on it. And feel free to be involved. We'd love to see you at
love
this
that.
event. Thank you.
I love that. So that's coming up in June. So go to the site, campbell.org, and go to the events and doing such great work. And again, David, as I said, I love your passion and your compassion, first of all, but your passion for this. And you, as you mentioned earlier, that you ran a nonprofit organization. So just tell us a little bit about, how long have you been at the Campbell Center and what drove you to be part of this organization? And as Sean was saying, what's the makeup? Like what? Sean and I don't come to this community voluntarily because we're members of this community through the fact that we're fathers of children with special needs issues. But that's not you. Doesn't describe you. So how did you come to this and do this voluntarily? It's an amazing thing. I want people to understand.
Well, let's go back to U.C.L.A. and I graduated from U.C.L.A. I won't tell you the year. And I applied to the U.C.L.A. Graduate School of Education. I was accepted, but I didn't go. I'm tired of school. 16 years. Big mistake. One of those big mistakes in my life. I did ultimately go into teaching. So I do have this humanitarian bend in me where I want to make a difference. So I actually, and I won't mention the name, but I was involved in another organization. I was a volunteer with them for like 25 years. I worked my way up the ranks as I worked for Xerox Corporation for 25 years. While doing that, I'm doing this volunteer work on the side. At some point, they needed an executive director, and I said, well, maybe David's not a bad guy. He worked for Xerox for 25 years. He's been this volunteer for 25 years. So I became executive director there. I left there. I saw the posting for this position, and I'm like, I can't do that. Okay, I don't know anything about people with IDD. You need someone with a master's degree. You need an MSW. You need someone that's got this proper education that can come in and really do what needs to be done. But they were really looking for someone that knew how to run a nonprofit. And I had a pretty good experience at how to run a nonprofit. I'd like to say that I've done a decent job since I've been here in terms of helping the organization. But that's really what brought me here. The bottom line is a sense of wanting to make a difference in people's lives and wanting to make a contribution. I just read last week that the path to happiness is not what you do for yourself. I mean, this was some type of scientific study. When you do something for somebody else, you feel better about yourself, okay? And you're making that contribution, but as we said earlier, it's going to come back at you tenfold. So that's really what brought me here. It's been a good career path for me. I can't complain about anything.
I love that. It's funny. I say, Sean and I have talked about this. The work that we do in financial services is it's the career that we both have chosen, and it serves us. But this work that we do here on this podcast and within this community, I have said, and I it's now becoming in a very loud and booming voice, this is life affirming work. When we're doing something that serves other people and we see the impact that it makes on this community, and we can put people together and we can create opportunity for folks to be exposed to something that they didn't know anything about, but they get some value out of it. It's just life affirming. I'm with you both in that serving others. It really is. First of all, it takes any additional effort. We're working to help people achieve their goals. What a great thing to do. And again, the fact that you've done this with this organization, I feel, so proud that we have had a chance to meet you. So thankful to Jackie for introducing us. And we're hoping that, we have many opportunities to work together. And we've been talking about this for a long time. We are putting up a Just Two Dads website. We're in the process of doing that. Okay. And when we do that, we're going to have all of our guests and their organizations on and create that resource. And we're definitely going to be talking about the Campbell Center for a long time.
Well, so we've got that connection. We want to keep that connection. I don't want this to be the last time.
No. First of many.
Yes.
And as we get, the crazy thing about it is that our show, we always talk about the fact that an hour goes by very, very quickly. And we're not wrapping up yet because there's always an element, a portion of every show that Sean, I'm going to let Sean do this because Sean, we're going to put you on the spot a little bit, David, on this thing. But Sean, I'm going to let you ask David this question because I think it's an interesting. It used to bother me, but I think it's an interesting conversation to have. So, Sean, go ahead. I'm going to let you take this. It's good.
The story that goes with it is got a lot of value in it too. But in a sense, we are here to change, right? We come into this world as close to perfect as we will ever be in most cases. Because we believe that, when you ask a kid, what do you want to be when you grow up? When I want to be a doctor, a lawyer, a fireman, and a police. Oh, and a professional athlete and an astronaut. Well,
astronaut too, yeah.
You got to choose one of them, bud. Kid's first response is, how come? Right. So we believe everything is possible. When we fall, literally or figuratively, we get back up and we run. And so by human nature, we're designed to change, to evolve. So those of us that don't change are really doomed, right? So with that said, and it being our purpose, tell us, if you can, one belief that you held dearly, one so dearly that you thought you would never think otherwise, but you now do.
Wow, that's a tough one.
And there's obviously no wrong answer.
Yeah, well, I think one of the things that going back in time to pre U.C.L.A. is the one thing that I've become more intent at my age is being a better person. Okay, and if I'm here, I want to be there. Okay, and doing the things. So I have a granddaughter. And my wife is constantly telling her to be nice. Okay. And so be nice, simple. It's got biblical implications, love God, love your neighbor, all that stuff, but be nice. Okay. I'm not going to take this here, but so my task is to perpetually work on, and maybe I wasn't always like that, but just being a nicer person and doing those mental things that I need to do to put myself in that state of mind. And that can be wherever. That can be when you go into the grocery store, Okay.
Right.
And how can you engage that person in life? How can you make that person behind the cash register? We have Brittany, who worked for us, worked at Del Taco, I mentioned earlier. Worked her way up from cleaning the tables to doing the lunchtime brigade. What can I do to make Brittany feel better about herself? She's there working hard. They're frontliners. Okay.
Yeah.
What can I do to make them feel better about themselves? So that's the thing that I am perpetually working on. I'm able to fulfill that because some people don't get a chance to do that. Okay. I mean, if you're working in court, if I was working for Xerox, I had to go find it someplace else. But being able to do this as a profession is the consummate opportunity for me. But over and beyond that is this day to day. How can I make that person feel better about themselves? How can I be nice? I don't know if I answered that question, but I think it's important for us all to do that.
You did.
Yeah.
You did. You answered it, and you made me think of my own thought, which is one of mine. And maybe Brian, maybe I do this going forward because it makes it easier for somebody if I share one of my own. But it's always revolving. But I used to think that being a nice person is such a natural thing and
Right.
an obvious thing, something that one should want to do, so that it shouldn't consist of consciousness, because you should just do that. But the bottom line is, no matter how high you think your consciousness is, you're about you to a certain extent. So you should always be working consciously to be a better person and better towards others. And that's one belief that I've completely changed. It's like, wait, you can't ever work too hard at that.
Yeah, no. If we talk about the world being a better place and we see all the divisions in the world, first of all, I believe, okay, and I couldn't quantify this, that 80% of the people in the world are nice people. Okay? I hate to do the 80-20 thing, okay, but I think 80%
more than we think, definitely.
It's the 20% that do all the crazy stuff, but they get all the news, okay?
Right. That's what sells.
There's the ones that's nobody wants to hear bad. I mean, nobody wants to hear good. There used to be a station in L.A. that was like a little local station, and they would do good news. Nobody wanted to see the good news. They want to see the bad news where people acting crazy, okay? But most people are just out there trying to take care of themselves. They're trying to take care of their families. They're trying to put food on the table, and hopefully trying to show some sense of conscious niceness towards other people. So I'm very optimistic about the world, and you read things that things are getting better. There's more water in the African villages. There's less, even the pandemic. Okay, but there's less illness out there. There's just things statistically that said the world is getting better, and that's what we need to focus on, and we need to do all that we can do to make that happen. And you start with organizations such as the Campbell Center. And I don't want to be just thinking, well, it's just about the Campbell Center. But if you're someplace else, get involved with that local organization and do what you can to make a difference. And it's gonna make you a better person. And it's gonna help your nice factor.
I agree. Somebody, I read this. This is so funny. I live in a building in downtown, and in our elevator, there's always management always puts some sort of motivational thing up on the wall, and somebody said, whether we agree or disagree, it doesn't take any effort to be kind, right? It's like, and especially now, as I always say, especially when we get we're wrapping up our episode. It's now when we've seen so much divisiveness and so much. There's so many people willing to just put, hateful comments on anonymously on social media, which I just don't quite understand. Like right now, more than ever, that we've mentioned this, it costs $0 to be kind. Really, it's about empathy and love. Like, if you can empathize with somebody else, put yourself in somebody else's shoes. If you can spread empathy and love, do that at least once a day, you're making the world a better place. If you remember that commercial, they used to say, if you tell two people and then they tell two people and so on. It's not many iterations before we've reached the entire world, right? The entire globe.
I have a fix. I have a fix for the whole thing. Okay, so I just watched the movie Independence Day the other night with Will Smith, and there's a lot in the news right now about unidentified
aliens. Correct.
Yes. The government's doing some research finally, and maybe they're going to come clean. Okay. Here's the fix. when the aliens come after us, we'll all realize that we're part of the human race, okay? And maybe we'll come together and try to work with each other and not have all that divisiveness. Because we are all part of the human race, and we have to get over this tribalness that we tend to engage with sometimes. So I'm off on another tangent here, but it is about, it is about helping people that are in need, and our population has that need, and again, the call to action is whatever you can do is get on their website, find out more about what we do. At a minimum, help support our event on June the 17th, and we'll keep engaged with the two of you, because I like this relationship.
Good. We do too. And if people join get on the website, thecampbell.org, and take a look at what they're doing. And if you think that your area needs a Campbell Center, you should reach out to David and talk about this. Could be a national and an international expansion of the Campbell Center in the future. I see. And again,
you kind of caught me flat-footed there a little bit, Sean, but okay, that's okay. I got it.
That's right. You did great, David. You were dancing. You danced around that one perfectly.
You did well, man. You did well.
As we wrap this episode, I want to thank everybody. Thank you for your participation. Thank you for watching us live. For those of you that caught us live or watching us on our YouTube channel, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Pandora, Spotify, iHeartRadio. Thank you all. For our listeners down in the Virgin Islands, Robert Moorhead, and our friends and family down in the U.S. Virgin Islands on WSTX AM radio, we're grateful for you all for your participation, and you're giving us a place in your ears and in your brains and in your hearts. And again, we thank you all. Sean, I'm always grateful to you for this partnership. Whether one of us is on or not, we are so aligned in so many things that we do. I love you, and am very, very grateful for the work that we do. David, such a lovely time to have spent with you today, and first of many opportunities for us to work together.
Thank you for the opportunity, and I look forward to further engagement. Thank you both. You're the ultimate two dads. Let me wish you both in advance a happy Father's Day.
Thank you so much, and the same
to you as well.
Thank you so very much. And Brian, everything is all mutual. Thank you so much. I think that we need to. The most valuable thing on the planet is people and the relationships that we build with each other. So I appreciate you, love you as well. And for everybody that's listening, any and everywhere back home for me in the U.S. Virgin Islands, we thank you. Wherever podcasts are found, we thank you. And again, I want to make sure that as always, I want to thank the women in my life, my wife, Laura, and my mom, Jan. I couldn't begin to attempt to try to be who I hope to want to kind of sort of even might be or become if it was not for them. And just remember that somebody, someplace, there is such a thing as, there's not such a thing as actual special needs. Everybody needs the same thing. Those with disabilities and those that care for them simply need more of it. What is it? To be heard, to know that you mattered, to know that that you're seen, and to know that you're cared for. And there's somebody out there that really needs your love and needs to know that they matter. So let's not forget that. Let's be good to each other. Thank you so very much for tuning in. Love to you all. And if you're watching or listening, we love you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much. Take care.
Bye-bye.